Welcome everybody to the World GT Championship Season 10.
Well, we are well and truly into the second half of the season for the World GT Championship, supported by 3M, and we are here at Brands Hatch for two 40-minute feature races here in this championship. Hello everybody, my name is Paul Smith, and joining me in the commentary box, as always, is Peter McKay. And Peter, we went from the streets of Detroit. Now we're in Kent at this fantastic Grand Prix venue at Brands Hatch.
Yes, it's going to be a cracker here at Brands Hatch, the home of the Formula Ford Festival since 1976. Uphill and down dale, just the way we like it, Paul, and it's going to be an absolute cracker here tonight.
It certainly is, of course. GT3 cars around here. It is a venue that sees GT3 cars come around here in various championships, including the British GT Championship. So it's a traditional GT track and one that will test these drivers here today. But we haven't got much time, so let's get on with the championship standings right here today, because in your Pro Championship it's just 7 points covering your top two. Ross McFarlane leading Kei Koshube, then David Baker a further 31 points back from them. The two 3M by Williams in XBS cars are Philip Dennis and Josh Thompson 4th and 5th. Matt Turnbull, Aaron Rose, Alex Neller, Oscar Koper and Pete Harrod round out the top 10. In your Pro-Am standings, it is Mike Horder who's got a solid 51-point lead over Max Wolf. Christian Rose in 3rd place ahead of Chris Van Der Ness. The Three Spires Motorsport drivers of Tim Perry and Bren Gregory are 5th and 6th, with Brian Loyens, Elliot Harper, Adam Hedgecock and Joel Evans rounding out the top 10. In your AM standings, it is Lee Berridge who leads that one just by 29 points over Andy Archer, so the Century Sim Esports driver will be hoping for a good round. Ryan Hamilton is in 3rd place, just ahead of Paul Webster, Michael Blake in the Simmortal outfit, Tom Stevens, John Roberts, Toby Ward, Chris Byram and Simon Neller round out the top 10 of your AM standings. In the team standings, it is Pure Sims Esports that lead that one by quite the margin over the 3M by Williams in XBS team. 119 points between those two. Pure Sims with Craig Setup Shop in 3rd place and the Pure Sims SimLab outfit in 4th place. Then the top 3 in Pro-Am. Evo SR are leading that one by a single point over the boosted Virage team. Three Spires Motorsport round out the top 3 of your Pro-Am, but only 45 points covering those 3 teams. BS Competition are in 8th ahead of RSR by G Performance, and Luxim 24 Esports round out those teams' championships. But here you are then, this is where we're at now. It is round number 8 of this championship. Brands Hatch for feature races. We then head on over to Motegi next week for 3 sprint races. Then a week's break before we head to Suzuka, Sebring and Monza to round out your championship. And Peter, 2 40-minute races, a mandatory pit stop in both of these races here, and of course a reverse grid draw for the second race.
Well, the reverse grid is going to throw up a real spanner in the works, I think, because at Brands Hatch the overtaking opportunities are not so straightforward as well. It's more about being clean, being consistent, and that's what keeps your track position as well. So, if you get shuffled too far down in the reverse grid, you could be in big trouble. But good to see the number 98, Phil Dennis, back to join us tonight, and looks like he's put it on pole by 0.2 of a second, a whopping margin in this contest.
Yeah, we have got the closing stages of qualifying ongoing. Speaking of qualifying, there are a number of drivers who have picked up penalties, which meant that they could not qualify here today. Andy Archer, Bradley Halls, Joel Evans, who's actually got a qualifying ban and a back of grid penalty for race number 2. John Roberts, Mark Woodhouse, Paul Webster, Simon Underhill, Tom Stevens and Tony Draper all could not take part in qualifying today. So that means that we have got about 8 cars at the back of the grid, all unable to set a time. As you point out, Phil Dennis and Kei Kashube up there at the front of the field, although as I say that, Ross McFarlane has just moved in to second place in qualifying. Elias Sepinen up there as well, so some really big talent up at the front of this field. It really is a driver's track around here, isn't it, Peter?
Oh, it's just superb. I mean, I don't think there's any circuit like it in the world. Just the way it just swoops and swells. It's a completely natural form of the land, and often that makes the best race circuits. And particularly on this Grand Prix layout, where we have, you know, Pilgrims Drop, Hawthorns, Westfield, Dingledale, and Sheens. It's just an absolute roller coaster ride. And these days, the GT3 cars have got so much aerodynamic performance that the corner speeds going through there are just so exhilarating, and to keep it on the island here is going to be the trick tonight, I think.
Now, correct me if and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Peter. The last time this held a Grand Prix was in 1985 for the European Grand Prix. I don't think it held the British Grand Prix after 85.
Now you would be you're going into your area of expertise, so I will let you check your own homework on that one, Paul. I will tell you the first race that was here at Brands Hatch was in 1928 between cyclists and runners, and the runners won.
Well, there you go. More history lessons with Paul and Peter coming up throughout this broadcast. But let's give you your starting grid then. So it is Phil Dennis who is on the front row of the grid. Alongside him is his teammate, Josh Thompson. So that's a really strong lineup here at the front of the grid. Ross McFarlane and Kei Kashube then line up on row number 2 with Elias Sepinen and Jack Sedgwick on row number 3. Row 4 then for Matthew Turnbull, and the first of your Pro-Am drivers, Billy Fletcher, in that Luxem 24 Esports car. Michael Evdoka and Elliot Harper round out row number 5, with David Baker and Alex Nella row number 6. Max Wolf on row 7 then, alongside him is Adam Watson. Christian Rose and Tim Perry on row number 8. Row 9 for Ashley Finch and Chris Van Der Ness. Row 10 for Ben Gregory and Ross Nicholson, with Jason Dilworth and JB Maceda on row 11. Row 12 for Mike Horder and Brendan Stacey. Row number 13 then for Chris Wood and Andy Shield, with Matt Bunn and Miguel Freitas rounding out row number 14. Row 15 is Morgan Butler and Jeroen Kaiser, who's one of our newcomers to the series, or returner, should I say, to the series. Now, row 16 is an all-AM outfit. Ryan Hamilton and Simon Nella on the front row of the grid for that category. Adam Hedgecock and Craig Jones then on row 17. Row 18 for Lee Berridge and Michael Blake. Row 19 is Laz Van Ryn and Toby Ward. And row 20 is Chris Byram and Nicholas Salapoutis. Row 21 for Robert Lundgren, another returner to the series, and the first of your drivers who could not set a lap time is Joel Evans. The rest of your field then did not set a lap time due to penalties. Matt Woodhouse, John Roberts, Simon Underhill, Tony Draper, Paul Webster and Andy Archer. And on the back row of the grid is Tom Stevens and Bradley Hulse. So here we are then, the start of the pace lap, and because it is one of the more of the veteran tracks on the service here on iRacing, we do get a full pace lap here, which does mean that the drivers can get a little bit of temperature into the tyres and brakes, which will help them as they plunge through Paddock Hill in towards Druids on the first lap.
Yeah, that is a really helpful thing for the drivers, just to generate that little bit extra tyre temperature, because here at Brands Hatch, when it goes green, oh my word, is it busy. When you go down the helter-skelter that is Paddock Hill Bend and then through the dip up towards Druids, you really do need your car at 100%. It won't quite be there, but a full pace lap really does help with that as well. So 50 cars here around Brands Hatch. It's going to be very, very busy. I think the drivers will be glad that it's a feature race rather than an endurance, because if it was endurance, traffic would be a heck of a problem, because it's a relatively short lap here at Brands Hatch.
Absolutely, and thank you very much to one of our chat members who's corrected me. 1986, of course it was 1986 was the final Grand Prix held around here, won by Nigel Mansell. The first Grand Prix that, of course, Frank Williams came to after his accident, which left him as a tetraplegic, isn't it? That he is. Yeah, I should have known that. I need to read up on my history books.
Well, people say, oh, you know so much, Peter. No, I just have lots written down in front of me. And it's literally written down front and centre, 1986 last British Grand Prix. It can only get better from here, Paul.
Well, the drivers are set. Phil Dennis on pole position with his teammate Josh Thompson. Now, they're not really that much of a teammate between them, and Dennis has gone early here. And, well, Ross McFarlane is trying to take advantage of this as the green flag flies here in round number 8 of the World GT Championship. 2 40-minute races. McFarlane's off in the Lamborghini. That's allowed Kashube to go through, and they're going 4 wide into Paddock Hill Bend. Into Druids, should I say. Oh, and there's a big shunt down at Druids. We've got a number of drivers off at the back of your field here.
Oh my goodness, the track blocked at Druids then as well. Lots of drivers scrabbling to get back onto terra firma, and well, dramatic start indeed. And I tell you what, Paul, Ross McFarlane, very, very rarely do you see him make a mistake, and indeed we've got a yellow flag, so we will have the safety car intervention. And yeah, you can use the new YouTube clip function to get a clip of that for your scrapbook, because that is a collector's item, a Ross McFarlane mistake.
It certainly is. He was a bit loose into turn number 1, and Barney, the flagman, is going to be getting a very sore arm. Just hold it out and just wait for them to come round before you start waving them. That's what most marshals do.
Do they have an OC health department at iRacing?
Well, Knockhill is coming to iRacing. We don't know the exact date, but it is coming to iRacing.
What's that got to do with occupational health in the workplace, Paul?
I thought you, to be honest with you, because of the audio of the thing, I thought you said Knockhill. And I thought you said... I was wondering if you were making reference to the Knockhill marshals, but there you go. Do they wave their flags enthusiastically? Is what I was.
I think we should. We're going to have next meeting at Knockhill. We're going to have a competition who can do the best Barney the flagman impression.
Well, here's the situation at play at the moment then. Phil Dennis does lead this one over Kei Kashube with Josh Thompson, Michael Evdoka and Matt Turnbull, the front 6 here. I'm sure we'll get a look at what happened in all of that shenanigans. It was a major snarl up, and I do believe it was Ben Gregory who was actually the first driver to get caught up in all of that incident. So we'll have to wait and see how things are going. Gregory is on pit road, so too is Ashley Finch, and Ishiel has been on pit road and is actually back out and running again. So yeah, there's a couple of cars have decided to come down onto pit road to get repairs done to their cars, but this can throw the strategy open just a little bit here, Peter, because of course we are in a fuel limited race here. It's a 40-minute race, and the drivers are limited to 50%. Here's a replay of the start, Peter.
So you can see Ross McFarlane there just gathers it up, and actually was almost held up by that domino effect of I didn't see who it was who lost it. I think they maybe lost it on the grass on the inside, and that reduced their braking force, and they were just a €500,000 bowling ball at that point.
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it was one of the Evo SR cars that came up and collected the back of one of the Three Spires Motorsports team. And then it just, as you say, bowling ball, it almost reminded me of Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll at Hungary this year, with the bowling ball effect wiping out a few people. Jack Sedgwick, I can tell you, has got damage to the back of his car, I noticed, on one of those shots. He's down in 9th place. He's not had the best of starts. So he's got involved in some shenanigans in the start there. The good news for these drivers, though, in this series, you do get one free repair here per race.
So for those that were involved, certainly for those who didn't have to tow to the pit lane, they've been able to get to pit lane, take a stop, get fixed, and get to at least to the back of the train without losing a lap. In which case they'll be able to carry on kind of as normal. So let's see if we can try and piece together.
It's the 32.
Oh, the 32 gets into the back of one of the Jericho Three Spires cars. Yes, the Lamborghini, and that just it just shows you how it needs just a tiny trigger, and you just have the most almighty pile-up.
It was Van der Ness who and it's just the smallest of things, isn't it? Just what, as you say, Peter, just one little thing, and it just triggers a chain reaction, especially into Druids.
Absolutely, and it didn't really, the thing is, when you've got so many cars, there's more of it. It's not because one driver's braked ridiculously early, it's just because it's just so congested, and that just caused a bit of a pile-up. But that's why we have the safety car intervention. You've been able to use your shiny new safety car button as well, Paul. You'd be happy about that. And so the lights are out on the pace car, so we'll be going green shortly.
Oh, so he's reacted to the Luxim 24 esports car that was returning to the track as Van der Ness. That's what's happened there. So that's why he's sort of come inside, and then all sorts of chaos just ensues there.
So you can't apportion any blame really to any driver. Really, I think that's just a classic lap one congestion racing incident in my book. Maybe I'm too generous.
The lights are out on the safety car, so the Porsche 911 will head its way onto pit road, and we're under the control of Phil Dennis, and he's very, very familiar with rolling starts. Green flag in the air then as we go racing once again here at Brands Hatch, down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Single file restart, of course. That doesn't stop them going double wide through Paddock Hill Bend in cases, and that was Jack Sedgwick making a move around the outside. We've got a car off at the bottom of the hill. That was one of the Team Mad cars. Now I want to say that was your own Kaiser.
Oh, that wouldn't be a very nice welcome to the World GT Championship for the Dutchman. But it appears to have got back going again. Hopefully he wasn't involved in that opening incident and has hopefully still got a fast repair left. But with 40 minutes on the clock for the whole race, Paul, and 33 to go, you can't really afford incidents like that because it's just so fast and furious.
Fast and Furious is the nature of this track. Look at this, we've got a battle here, and that is McFarlane. So Ross McFarlane, out of all of that, did drop down to 11th place from that start. As he said, a rare mistake from him. Too wide with Christian Rose and one of the Nomad sim racing cars, and now the Luxim car is saying thank you very much, Christian, I'll take that position. That was Billy Fletcher, as we've got a Team Mad car, another one, off in the grass on the exit of Stirling's, but through Clark Curve once again, down the Brabham straight. It's not very straight here, but it is a straight nonetheless, in towards turn number one, and Kashube with the fastest lap of the race so far. Okay, that's the first hot lap we've had of the race, really. He's putting the early pressure on Phil Dennis at the front.
Yeah, so it's a BS competition. Although they're running in different liveries, they're under the same awning, really. They're both BS competition drivers, Phil Dennis and Kai Kashube. Josh Thompson right behind in the BMW. So it's a return of the BMWs after the Ferrari of Jack Sedgwick dominating last week at Detroit. The BMWs are back in force. Michael Evdoka, the first of the non-BMWs, in fourth in his Ferrari. Matthew Turnbull in the Lamborghini in fifth. with Elias Seppinen. Good run for Elias Seppinen in the number 69 BMW as well. And after that safety car intervention, Paul, actually we're already coming into the fuel window as well. So we've got quite a wide window of when the drivers could pick here.
And of course, because under safety car they were running especially slow, not using up much fuel, that just widens that fuel window as well, doesn't it? So it gives them even more strategy play. You can't zero stop it because it is regulated in the regulations that you have to make a pit stop. So even just a splash and dash, if you were able to save the fuel, as there is the 777 of Simon Neller playing in the kitty litter again at the exit of Stirling's. Gets back up and running. It looks like with those tyre marks that he may have got... Oh no, he didn't. He helped himself off.
Well, that is an absolute classic. Every driver has made that mistake, and if you say you haven't, you are lying. Coming out of Sheen Curve up towards Stirling's, named after two of the greatest British racers ever, Barry Sheen and Stirling Moss. And well, it's just as you come through that corner, it's so fast, the blind right of Sheen's, and yeah, just caught him out there as well. But managed to keep out the barriers by the look of things, so that's the main thing as well. He's got a huge train forming up behind the 8th place car of Sam Harper. Is that in 9th place?
Elliot Harper.
Elliot
yes.
Harper. Where did Sam come from?
I don't know. There was one driver who was struggling to keep it on the track, which was Adam Watson. Okay, Kashube. What's happened to Kashube? He was in 2nd place. He's dropping down. Now, has he got a problem, or has he got a slow down penalty from cutting across the corner, perhaps? He's dropped down from 2nd down to 6th.
There's a bit of damage on the left-hand side of the car, but that might have been from the early melee. We're going to get a look at it here. Oh, that'll do it. Oof. Oh, dear. And I tell you what there, Paul, Kai didn't put much of a wheel wrong, but once you get onto that grass, it is just like glass. Oh, a little bit of a tap there from Sedgwick from behind. So, bruising encounter so far for Kai Kashube.
And this is one of the characteristics of Brands Hatch as well. You make a mistake here, and well, it just spits you out of this track. There's no tarmac runoff here, as there you see, and he hits it. Now, fortunately for Kay, there is tyres there, and it's not an Armco barrier, so it's not as damaged as it would have been if it had hit that metal barrier.
Well, with the pit window open, I know he'd have traffic to worry about, but if I was Kai Kashube, if he's got any loss in lap time, get into the pit lane, take his mandatory pit stop, he can make it to the end without having to stop again, and he's then got a fresh race car, and we know how fast Kai Kashube is. He's fighting for this championship tooth and nail with Ross McFarlane, who isn't having the best of starts either, don't forget.
Absolutely, as we ride on the nose of Jack Sedgwick. The front 7 have broken away, and I've got one into yellow flags, and it's Simon Underhill who's on his side. That's down at is that down at Dingle Dell, or up towards Westfield, up towards Sheen Curve? Well, anyway, he's taken the tow back to the pits, and yet it's Dingle Dell, and it's one of the Simmortal cars. That's Matt Woodhouse.
That is, that's got airs of Will Hoy and
Andy Rouse.
Andy Rouse, that's it.
Yes, in the Toyotas. 1992 that was. Except that those two weren't teammates, whereas Andy Rouse and Will Hoy were.
That's true, yes. And John Clellan driving along on the inside, killing himself laughing.
Well, speaking of driving along down the inside, Max Wolf is going to try and take advantage of that Luxem car. Going wide there, thank you very much. And Billy Fletcher is going to lose one, maybe 2 positions there. 2 Porsches, although Fletcher does have the inside line for Hawthorns as they head into Westfield. And there's Christian Rose trying to take advantage through Westfield. Not really an overtaking opportunity into that corner, it's more the exit where you get the cut under. Yeah,
that's a bit where it's kind of all one line. It can be very, very fast through there as well, and you just have to be so precise. And as we saw with Kai Kashube, if you just step over a touch, it can go badly wrong.
I'm going to say Westfield is the only corner on any race circuit in sim racing where I've actually made an overtake on Ashley Sutton. in the past, so I will hold on to that with dear thoughts in my head as we look at the positions gained in the first 14 minutes of this race. Matt Turnbull up 4 positions, Michael Doker up 4 positions, Ross McFarlane down 6 positions, the championship leader, not ideal for him. Billy Fletcher down 6 positions, and Jason Dilworth up 6 positions. John Roberts, he started at the back of the field due to a back of the grid penalty. He is now got himself in 35th, battling away with the SimStickers driver of, I believe that's Ross Nicholson. Yes, it is. Oh, there was a slow moving Toby Ward.
Dear, not good for Toby Ward. Always a driver punching above his weight in class and contending for the Pro-Am title.
Yeah, he's plunging down Pilgrim's Drop now. Chris Van der Ness alongside him. And Van der Ness makes it ahead. Meanwhile, John Roberts still putting the pressure on, and in fact he's now got the 3 Spires car in front of him. That one is Tim Perry. Tim Perry, another one of those drivers who did have... Oh, no, it's not Perry who had a penalty, sorry. To myself there. Although he has lost in this race 18 positions. He was involved in that lap 1 incident at Druids. Now, Joel Evans, one of your Pro-Am drivers, he's onto pit road. He's taking a scheduled pit stop here. The car looks fine, so that is definitely planned.
We see a bit of side-to-side action here with Bradley Hulse. Oh dear, that's... Oh dear, oh me.
That's Ross Nicholson. Now, did Ross move across on Brad? Was Brad moving across on him? I fear that's going to be one for the stewards to have a look at in the future.
Yeah, they're going to need some tea and biscuits here. I
Could possibly be 6 of one, half dozen the other there.
Yeah, I tell you what, who would want to be a race steward, honestly, and try to make a decision? I think you could just sit there going, racing incident. What's that? Oh, I drilled him from behind. Nah, racing incident. No further action.
I have race stewarded in sim racing, so I know that pain. So we've got a free M car off. That's Matt Bunn. He is nicknamed Matt Spun, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did it all by himself. He's got significant damage to the back of his car, but
they're just jealous of his absolutely beautiful racewear clobber that he has.
Now this is going to be on the exit. Yep, there you go.
What was that? A credit card's width? Onto the grass. Honestly, just a slither of Pirelli onto the grass, and boom, he's in the wall.
His teammate, however, or one of his compatriots, Ashley Finch, is on pit road, as is Andy Shield as well. Ross Nicholson's going on pit road as well. I don't blame him for doing that. And out they go once again to those pitters. So we've got the start of pit stops happening. That's going to bring a bit more traffic towards the race leaders. We've not really talked about them much. Phil Dennis has currently got about a 2.5 second lead over Josh Thompson, with Matt Turnbull in 3rd place, a further 3 seconds back from Thompson. So that lead 4 have all just pulled away from each other.
That's something we very rarely see, and that is definitely the Brands Hatch factor for sure. It is a proper driver circuit and not easy to follow. These GT3 cars are very aero dependent, so if you get too close, you really can wash out and understeer, and that's the last thing that you want here at Brands Hatch. But Phil Dennis, we've missed him for a couple of rounds, but Dennis the Menace is leading confidently, 2.5 seconds. That's quite a margin over a driver of Josh Thompson's calibre, so as long as his fuel number is okay, he's in the driving seat here for the first win of the evening. And
that was Max Wolf losing a position to Billy Fletcher there. So change of position there, looks him 24 Esports over Evo SR. And then you got one of the boosted outfits of Alex Nella behind, and Christian Rose. It's a big queue of cars, is this one actually, because this goes back even more. Mike Horder, Jason Dilworth and Morgan Butler I'm sure the head of the Morgan Butler fan club, Chaz Draycott, will be around somewhere, and he'll make his presence known in the chat if he is around. But Morgan,
he's signing autographs tonight. He's signing autographs of his new autobiography.
Ah, wonderful. Can't wait to... It'll be a gripping read.
I'm sure...
Are you okay there, Peter?
I'm sure it will be, sorry.
You're the one who brought up the autobiography.
No, I know, that's my own fault. That's my own fault. Phil Dennis leads by 2.6 seconds. He's cruising away with this, Paul. We just don't see this at the front of the World GT Championship.
No, well, you say that. I mean, you look at what Jack Sedgwick did last week at Detroit in the Ferrari. Now, there was a little bit of the Detroit factor about that, wasn't there? Because the Ferrari was just so much better around there than everything else. But still, Jack is a World Championship quality driver, currently in 6th place in this race himself, as we'll look at the, how shall we say it, the abuse of track limits on Graham Hill Bend there. And Jonathan Palmer will be happy that he put the grasscrete down so it doesn't affect his lovely lawn.
You'll still get a bill for denting the grasscrete though.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, his helicopter's got to be paid for somehow, but there you go, there's the zoom. Bradley Hull's finding the grass on the exit of the grasscrete there out of all of that. So, oh, that's a particularly wide line from one of the Three Spires Motorsports cars. And he gets back up and running. No, it's not Hedgecock, no. That was one of the Three Spires cars in the Mercedes. And, well, Phil Dennis at the front here. Just keeping relentless pace from Phil. I can tell you his average 5 laps, because I've got a brilliant piece of software which tells me their average 5 laps of pace. He is 0.2 of a second faster on average than Josh Thompson per lap. Wow,
that is almost unprecedented at this level, because it is just so tight. It's well, whatever. Phil Dennis is maybe. Do you think he's just been? He's doing like what some of the Finnish rally drivers used to do. They would miss the tarmac rounds just so they were absolutely ready for the 1,000 Lakes. They could go do testing instead of do the World Championship tarmac rounds. So he's thought, I'm going to win Brands Hatch. I'm not going to win Brands Hatch. I'm going to smash everybody. So he's missed championship rounds, not because he was unavailable, but because he was just practicing for Brands Hatch.
I do think that last week he wasn't available, to be fair. He wouldn't willingly miss a round of the championship. I know there are 2 drop weeks to take into account with the championship standings, which is why the championship standings did get adjusted last week. But yeah, you still don't want that to be one of your drop weeks, do you? Because then when you have a bad week where you don't score as many, that's now counting towards your championship if you've got, say, 2 missed rounds.
That's right. You know, you're better your drop week being, say, 20 points rather than 0. That's for certain. So yeah, I think that's going to be a tough order for Phil Dennis to fight back in the championship, because I just don't see either Ross McFarlane or Kai Kashubi giving an inch here, even though they're having not their best day at all by their standards. They're still in 7th and 8th place, so they're still there, and of course we've got another race to go.
We certainly do, with a reverse grid. Now, the reverse grid around here will be very interesting to watch, because, well, we've seen it's not the easiest of tracks to overtake at. We have a spinner in the background. I believe that's Jason Dilworth, who's gone around at Graham Hill Bend. I believe that was the Nomad Cat. Yep, there he is. There's Dilworth, trying to get back to the track, avoiding everybody else. Bradley Hull's going for a bit of a ride as well. There's enough for a Mercedes in the background going off as well. My goodness, Graham Hill Bend is proving to be quite a challenging corner.
Very, yeah, it is a tricky corner to get right. You can have a go at it. You can do 100 practice laps and go around a different line each time. It is really, really tricky, is Graham Hill Bend. But Bradley Hulls finally gets the move done there after a bit of a wiggle. I mean, the Porsche's an interesting one. We've seen it be quite nervous on the limit. Not everybody finds it that way, mind you. Some people quite like it. But one thing is for sure, once pilots, it can be prone to a bit of understeer. That's one thing I would say, which is not what you want around.
Oh
my word!
And that is on the exit. of Sheen corner, and it's John Roberts.
Sorry.
In the boosted Virage car. Oh, he's got heavy damage now. John Roberts, has he been down to pit road already? I don't believe he has. And he will find himself in a very fortunate situation that it's near the end of the lap there. He could come onto pit road straight away, get his pit stop.
Yeah, considering the ferocity of the accident, and honestly, if you get a slow-mo of that, I reckon he's, a credit card's width on the grass, if at all, and that just shows you the margins you're playing with. Track limits, who needs them here?
Well, maybe at Paddock Hill Bend and at Graham Hill Bend, perhaps, but never mind, as Adam Watson is carrying on. There's the slow-mo, and you speak of it. It's about half a width of a tyre, isn't it?
Almost nothing. Almost nothing. And of course, through Sheen, that is a kind of weird camber, and it's blind going in. I mean, it's a proper big guts corner. Exactly. But Barry Sheen was a big guts man. He was a brave man, so it's a perfectly named corner.
Well, with Sheen as well, though, you're going over a rise as well, aren't you? So the car almost leaps. In fact, back in the day, back in the mid-90s, the touring cars would actually take off over that corner. So you're having the weight transfer hit hard, you turn into the right, so all the weight is transferred onto that left side. You get your line wrong and you're off.
Yeah, but you've got to really, that back part of the circuit at Brands Hatch, you've really got to string the whole sequence together, and if you're out of line anywhere kind of from Westfield onwards, you're never going to get it back until, well, the end of the lap. And well, certainly until you go down the straight at Clearways. That's how tricky this circuit is, and that's why we're seeing so many mistakes. More actually than we saw at Belle Isle.
Absolutely, but well, drivers out there circulating at the moment with 15 minutes remaining, and it's worth just giving you a little bit of an update of how things stand at the moment. So it is Phil Dennis who leads this one by about 3 seconds, 2.8, 2.9 seconds over Josh Thompson. Matt Turnbull is in third place. Morgan Butler's had an issue through Paddock Hill Bend. Again, another corner where you just get the weight transfer up over the hill and then you plunge down into that dip. You would not believe the elevation change around this circuit. I can tell you it's very steep because I've walked around the track a couple of times before, and it's not the easiest of circuits to negotiate around, even though it's relatively short. But yeah, back to you. So that's your top three in the Pro-Ams. Elliot Harper leads that one at the moment, and he is ahead. He's in ninth place, ahead of Max Wolf. Billy Fletcher was actually in second place in Pro-Am. He's had an issue down at Paddock Hill Bend. He's getting going again. This time, this is going to be the gravel trap on the exit. Around he goes, finds the barrier.
Oh, there is quite an honour roll of people who have hit that barrier, that's for sure, on the run up towards Druids when Billy Fletcher has added his name to them. I don't know if he'd taken his pit stop yet. Let me check and see. Billy Fletcher, where are you on the time screen? He is not. Right, okay, so then at least that means he can get back to pit lane and repair any damage he's got, take the pit stop and get back onto circuit. So the damage will be much less than if he had taken his pit stop. Now, do you know why Brands Hatch is so undulating, Paul?
Well, I was actually just going to finish off giving the top three of other so yeah, so Max Wolf is in second in Pro-Am and Christian Rose is third in Pro-Am. Your top Am, by the way, is Ryan Hamilton up in 17th ahead of Lee Berridge in 18th and Michael Blake 21st. Go on, why is Brands Hatch so undulating? Please enlighten us.
Well, it was a military vehicle park in World War II, and because it was so strategically important, it was bombed quite extensively, and that did create some undulation, and that's why it is the way it is. So, because of, military vehicle park, heavily bombed, and that's why it's so undulating. So, thanks, guys, for giving us a brilliant race circuit.
And unlike Snetterton, where they've got a corner called the Bomb Hole, but ironically was never bombed. That corner in particular wasn't actually a bomb hole.
Correct. Yes, there's quite a rude explanation.
It was a different name, but we won't go into that on this broadcast.
Yes, that was bike riders that didn't like it, and to trust bike riders to give a more crude use of language.
Well, that was Keik Shoebate into pit road, so he's got his repairs done. he has found himself out in 17th. And he's actually found himself a little bit of clean air here. This has worked out nicely for Kurt.
It's worked out perfectly, and we know how fast Kai Kashube is, as the two Ferraris of Doka and Sedgwick, maybe just holding each other up a little bit here perhaps as they go into Paddock Hill Bend. Big commitment through there as well. Looks like the leaders, Paul, are going to go very, very deep into the race, as deep as they can go, and just take a quick splash and go.
To be honest, that doesn't surprise me if you're worried about traffic and not coming out into free air, whereas Kai Kashube, as I say, found himself that little bit of clean air and has come out. Oh, Andy Archer! Oh, and there's the number 77, the boosted car, having to take avoiding action. That was Lars Van Rijn. So Andy Archer, Century Sim Esports, back up and running. He has been on pit road. No, he hasn't been on pit road, should I say, sorry. So Andy's yet to pit, and I think his choice was made for him of not going down pit road that time.
It's funny how that can sometimes, the decision can be taken out of your hands. Now, just a comment on the exit of pit road. You are basically being spat out onto just before the turn-in point into Paddock Hill Bend, so the drivers will need to keep a little eye in the mirror when coming out of pit road, because the commitment level of the drivers on the racing line is huge, and you can't really adjust your line very much. You've got to be careful when coming. You can't be snoozing when you're coming out of pit lane.
As we see them going through Hawthorns in towards Westfield.
Now, Josh Thompson has carved a bit of advantage out of Phil Dennis. He's pulled over half a second from that original lead, and in fact continues to do so as well. So Josh Thompson is not done yet.
As there's the map of the track and who's where, and you can see there's only just one or two little bits of gaps out there on track. And car 49 is Josh Thompson and 98. They're heading through the back half of the grid as we see Andy Archer and Co coming down onto pit road. So you can see how there's one or two gaps out there on track, and in fact Phil Dennis has found himself into a little bit of a gap there. But the rest of the track is just filled with cars at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's why the drivers are at the front are deciding to go as deep as possible into the race so that they do not get thrown out into traffic. It's actually, as we said, worked out quite well for Kai Kashube. It appears he's got 8 seconds in front of him. That might well close down in time, but at the moment 8 seconds ahead. That's exactly what Kai Kashube needs to unleash that pace that we know the powerboat racer has. Man from Bordeaux.
Oh, Jack Sedgwick onto pit road. So the 3M by Williams in XBS competition car, the conglomerate is this team, gets onto pit road, stops, getting fuel only. You won't see drivers taking any tyres in this race. Lays a liberal amount of rubber down on his pit exit. 7.3 seconds on the box. Pulls away, and crucially, there's Kai Kashube right behind him. So he's managed to stay ahead of Kai.
Job done then for Jack Sedgwick. He'll be looking in his mirror and just take a little small smile, going, good stuff, that's what we want to see. Kai Kashube, well, his the angle of his lips will be completely the opposite. It will be a frown. He'll be going, dash you Britain and your Ferrari.
Headed in towards 30s. That is a tricky corner. It is not an easy corner to go around there at all, as Bradley Hulls, I think, has just found the pit wall. I think he found the end of the pit wall, and it's, I tell you what, when you have an accident there, it's a big one into that tyre stack at the end of the pit wall.
Well, maybe he lost it coming through Clark Curve there then, did
Dennis
Bradley
pits,
Hulls.
Thompson pits, McFarlane pits as well. The leaders are in, Sepinen and Evdoka staying out.
Well, who's going to get the jump here? Well, Dennis does, but I wonder if maybe there's been a bit of a gap pulled back from Thompson there.
Thompson was about a second quicker.
Yeah.
In the stall. So Dennis, and he's come out in traffic as well. He's got a Team Mad car. I believe that's your own Kaiser in front of him. Yes, it is. So the Dutchman is the next target for Dennis, and very kindly moves over for Phil.
So yeah, Josh Thompson 1.2 seconds quicker than Dennis. Dennis really much slower in the lane than most of his rivals comparatively, but that shows you that he really was pushing at the front. There was no fuel saving going on, whereas Josh Thompson obviously he's one of the lower times in pit lane, in fact maybe one of the very quickest actually, so definitely playing the fuel save game as well. But Phil Dennis is going to have to be very, very precise and decisive in the traffic here to keep that advantage from Josh Thompson.
But fortunately for him, he's got a piece of traffic between himself and Josh there, but he's got 2 cars in front of him, and these 2, I do believe, are battling for position. Elias Seppänen onto pit road along with Michael Evdoka. This is going to be the final 2 of your planned pit stops, and Seppänen, he had a bit of damage there, got it repaired, that's crucial. 7.3 seconds for him as well. Evdoka 6.4 seconds, so Evdoka has been very, very light on that throttle pedal.
Yeah, Ferrari and frugal aren't 2 words that you hear in the same sentence very often.
Down the inside at Druids. Oh, now was there a little bit of contact there? Looked like it, didn't it?
If there was, it was very, very light enough that Seppänen wasn't disturbed too much, just a little bit of a slide there as well. So Turnbull goes through, a forceful move nonetheless, and up into the podium spots then for Matthew Turnbull for Pure Sims Esports Lamborghini. And Seppänen, he's really made steps forward. This is one of his drives of the season, I'd say.
Yeah, he's only a young driver, mind you. Most of these drivers are young compared to me, and yeah, that was a little bit of assistance there. Door to door, I think that's more of a racing incident between those 2. But yeah, he's a young driver, and he's slowly growing into this series. He has won races in this championship, but he's also made some mistakes when coming through the field as well. So showing that he's learning his craft here.
And what a school to learn it in, the World GT Championship. So much competition, and even if you're not having a good day, the depth of field here is just extraordinary. 50 cars and all quick drivers as well. So yeah, what a place to learn your craft in GT racing, and particularly GT3 racing with the way the global sports car formula is going. This is the formula that is staying for good.
It certainly is, and long may that continue, because I absolutely love GT3 as a category. I think it's a thriving market is this category, and one that will continue to grow as they go along, as we see this battle for Max Wolf, Alex Nella and Christian Rose. I will say as well about this championship, it teaches you traffic management, because you have got drivers of different ability out there. Yes, they're in the same category of car as a big mistake. Oh, that's a shoulder barge. Out the way goes out, it says Alex Nella. I think Max Wolf had a little bit of an issue through Surtees, and Nella says, you don't need to ask me twice, I'm coming through.
Goodness me, that was that was pretty fierce there, but Max Wolf won't let it get to him too much. He's a hard racer, the young Dutchman. He's had a really strong season for Evo SR in that Porsche, and now holding off the number 193 of Christian Rose in the equally pretty Craig's Setup Shop Porsche 911.
I'll tell you what, they'd be proud of a shoulder barge like that down at Cardiff Arms Park. Down on the rugby field, they would be proud of that. But yeah, out the way, thank you very much, I'm coming through. And that's exactly what's... Yeah, just a handoff, yeah, absolutely.
With a straight arm, I hope.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, flat of the hand, no clenched fist. As we'll look further back at the 2 Immortal cars, that's Paul Webster and also Martin Woodhouse together. Both of these drivers had a qualifying ban, and they're close together, so they won't be fighting each other too hard out there. But they will be trying to catch up to Lars Van Rijn in front of them, as Adam Watson, now one of the Team Mad drivers, has more issues. With just over 2 minutes to go, we're nearly at the end of the race here.
Yeah, this is, you don't want to be shedding positions now and throwing throwing vital points away. Just keep it clean for these last few laps. At the moment, Phil Dennis leads then by about 1.8 seconds, so the gap did come down a bit during the pit cycle, but the American driver in the lead in the 98 BMW has handled that situation brilliantly. When you're out front and you know you've got to take a pit stop and negotiate that, all sorts of things that could go wrong, but he's really been cool as a cucumber. Dennis the Menace is back.
He certainly is, but he's still got about a lap and 3/4 to go in this yet, so one little mistake. We've seen how just getting half a tyre or a quarter of a tyre on the grass, especially up at Sheen Corner, and before you know it, you're facing the wrong way and wondering what on earth happened there. But Dennis, very assured, keeping the pace up all the way to the end of this race, doing a fantastic job up at the front. He does have a little bit of lap traffic, Brendan Stacey. Officially a privateer, although he is a member of the Boosted outfit. He gets out the way of Phil, and he'll also get out the way of Josh Thompson. That's good to see.
Yeah, great respect there, letting the leaders get through and get on with the job. It looks like it'll be one lap to go then, as Phil Dennis comes around Clark Curve for the penultimate time, and this has been such a smooth and controlled drive. Josh Thompson, though, steadying the ship of his championship charge as well. We've heard him say throughout the season, oh well, that's championship over, but I get the feeling that championship's never over. If there's a mathematical chance, you've got to keep going.
Absolutely, you've got to keep going, never give up, and that's what you need to do in this. There is actually a close battle as well for 5th place overall out there on track between Sedgwick and Ev Durka. That's 5th and 6th with 2 Ferraris, and look who's lurking there in the background of that shot then. Kai Kashube and Ross McFarlane. It's a bit of a recovery after his lap 1 for Ross, down in 8th place, but he's right there with his championship rival.
Yeah, he's just going to give away a couple of points to Kashube. It was very tight coming into this round here at Brands Hatch, so McFarlane will just lose a couple of points to second place Kai Kashube, but how they perform during the reverse grid race, that is where I think we'll see the big differences.
These two still together, not moving any positions for the time being. Meanwhile, Phil Dennis, your race leader, coming into Clark Curve, Jim Clark Curve, for the final time in this opening race of 2. We've got another race coming up, folks. You won't want to miss it, as across the line he goes. Flash the headlights for Phil Dennis, who wins this opening race of the evening. Crucial to see, Sedgwick has lost a position to Kashube on the final lap, and Ross McFarlane is trying to get through down the inside across the line. Does he do it? No, he doesn't. Sedgwick just holds on to the position for that one. That was incredibly close between McFarlane and Sedgwick. There's talking thousandths of a second between the two of them across the line. And, well, I can tell you that Elliot Harper won the Pro-Am category, and Lee Berridge is the leading Am driver. Here's what happened then. It's lap traffic catching out Sedgwick. He runs wide through Stirling's. Thank you very much. You don't need to ask Kai twice.
Well, that was a real bonus ball there for Kai Kashube, because critically Ross McFarlane did not get past Sedgwick, so that's an even more of point gap between second place Kashube and championship leader Ross McFarlane. So, the plot thickens, Paul.
Yeah, like somebody who's been stealing soil for putting on their allotment, the plot thickens, that's for sure. As the last two drivers who will come across the line are Matt Woodhouse and Lars Van Rijn. And, well, we will be able to give you your race results in the opening race after we make the draw for the reverse grid of race number 2. So if Hugo goes and spins the wheel, we'll be able to see which number, Peter, will be drawn and tell you who is going to be on pole position for race number 2.
Well, since Rachel Riley was not available, I shall tell you it's going to be number 27, and I believe that is Miguel Freitas.
It is.
Oh.
So we will give you the full results and confirm that for you then. So, first place, and what a drive from Phil Dennis then. was put under a little bit of pressure towards the end of the race by Josh Thompson, but Thompson just wasn't able to get close enough. But the two teammates, first and second place, they will be delighted with that result. Matthew Turnbull for third place for Pure Sims Esports, and then Elias Seppänen, good result for the young Finn, in fourth place. Michael Avdoka fifth, ahead of Kai Kashube, who just snuck that final position, at that final place on that last lap into sixth place. Jack Sedgwick will be ruining that mistake, but luckily for him was able to stay ahead of Ross McFarlane at the end. Elliot Harper is the top Pro-Am driver for Luxim 24 Esports, and then David Baker rounds out the top 10. Boosted parental guidance driver Alex Nella, who shoulder charged his way through into 11th in the end, ahead of the second place of the AM drivers, Max Wolf in 12th, and the third place Pro-Am driver of Christian Rose in 13th. Adam Watson 14th after a number of spins out there today with Mike Horder, Joel Evans, JB Masida, Billy Fletcher, and then the leading AM driver Lee Berridge for Boosted Motorsport. What a result for him to finish in the top 20 of that opening race. Chris Wood rounds out the top 20. 21st for Ashley Finch. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that, ahead of Tim Perry, Chris Van Der Ness, and then Ryan Hamilton, the second of your AM drivers, ahead of Adam Hedgecock. Third place AM driver Force Immortal is Michael Blake. He'll be starting on the front row alongside your pole position sitter from Team Mad, Miguel Freitas. Drivers just missing out on that reverse grid then: Craig Jones, Jason Dilworth and Andy Shield. 31st down, it's Morgan Butler, Bradley Hulse, who found the end of the pit wall, Andy Archer, Tom Stevens, Paul Webster, Matt Woodhouse, the two Immortal drivers together. Lars Van Rijn got caught up in a few things. John Roberts is the last of your lead lap drivers, with Jeroen Kaiser the first of those one lap down, and Toby Ward in 40th place. Son Draper, Brendan Stacey, Simon Nella, Robert Lundgren and Nicholas Salapoutis all finished one lap down. Ben Gregory did finish, but 2 laps down, and then those that did not finish, just 4 retirements: Matt Bunn, Chris Byram, Ross Nicholson and Simon Underhill. Fastest lap by Phil Dennis as well, and that's hardly a surprise really, the level of pace that Phil had out there.
Absolutely exceptional. How easily he was able to just drive away from someone of Josh Thompson's caliber. I mean, extraordinary there from Phil Dennis. Been away from the championship for a few weeks, and you would never know.
You certainly wouldn't. I'm just looking at my timing screen here as well. Yeah, Josh Thompson 1.6 seconds in the end away from the lead. Matt Turnbull, very, very respectful, but a little bit of rubbing in through Druids, got him that podium position ahead of Elias Seppänen, and Seppänen will be not too pleased about that.
No, he won't, but I think that's when it's as close racing as that. These things can happen. It wasn't so forceful that it caused a crash. I think it would be a different story then, and I'm sure Elias Seppänen would have had a go in the same position as well. And Druids does invite that little kind of nip up the inside. The one thing that Seppänen can be given big credit for there, and it's something that a lot of drivers do, is they see someone come up the inside and they just slam the door, and it makes the incident worse than it was. Seppänen played that one clever. You know, he went to live another day, and of course, if you come out of Druids on the outside line, you do have the inside for Graham Hill Bend and Surtees, so you need to, even if you might lose out at Druids, it's the move is not always done by that point.
Certainly not. Elliot Harper, your top Pro-Am driver for the Luxim 24 Esports outfit. They've been a really strong team this season, I do feel. Billy Fletcher, a little bit unfortunate with a couple of incidents he got involved in. He dropped 10 positions in that race. But you have to say, Elliot Harper has been a real star in that Pro-Am division this season.
Yes, he has, yeah, and you make a good point about the Lux Sim Sports team and their Lamborghinis, and the Lamborghini is such a good all-round car that doesn't maybe necessarily have the straight line speed, but so predictable on the limits, corners so flat, it's great on the brakes, it's a really good all-round package. The other cars, you know, probably the best all-round package would be the BMW maybe, but that Lambo, if you want a car to carry big corner speed, there's nothing better.
and you've mentioned about how it corners flat as well, haven't you? Weight sort of keeps stable, and that's so good for the aerodynamics, and that's what's working out for them. Your top AM driver, we've not really talked about him much in the first race, but I will say that congratulations, Lee Berridge, 19th place, up 16 positions out of all of that. He struck gold with that incident that happened on lap 1 and was able to negotiate his way through, and he's been rewarded there.
Yeah, I think in the AM class as well. I mean, if you finish 19th overall, that's a huge chunk of championship points for the AM category, and we see it can really go in peaks and troughs sometimes. If you get one driver who has a particularly good day, the potential gains are huge. So brilliant stuff there from Lee Berridge, and that championship continues to go on, and I'm sure we'll be getting our calculators primed for the final week of the season.
Well, thankfully, I am happy to say that the final round of this championship, you do not have drop scores counts for that final round. So we will know who the champion is at the end of that, unless, of course, there are stewards' decisions. It's always provisional when it comes to a championship finale, but we like to call somebody a champion when they cross the line. But it makes our life a lot easier than not having that drop score for the final round.
Oh, hugely so. I not Kill recently, I was doing the last day of the Scottish Legends Championship, and not drop scores there, but the should we say ongoing debate over decisions and penalties and all sorts. It continues to rumble on as I speak right now. So yes, it's for a commentator it wasn't easy, because of course everyone's wanting to know the result. You want to give it to them, but you don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get into race number 2 of the evening, we want to remind everyone that this series is supported by 3M, and they've got one of their new products out. It was launched just a couple of weeks ago, and that is the Sim 21 gloves, which they have brought out and kindly have provided myself with a pair to be able to show you on screen. Peter, what do you think of those?
Look, very stylish, Paul, as well. It really does suit you there as well. The thing I like about this product is that you've got a special type of material on the index finger and the thumb, so you can work a touch screen. So if you're just wanting to quickly check your text messages in between races, you can do so, as well as Paul will demonstrate now.
I won't give away any passwords.
What's your Paul Smith password is? Yeah, but lightweight, breathable, and gives you a good grip. We've all been there in the sim. You're in this race and you go, I'm on a personal best finish, come on, and your hands start to sweat under pressure. Not a problem when you've got a pair of 3M gloves. And, you know, for those who are big fans of international motorsport, or indeed domestic motorsport here in the UK, where we have the British Touring Cars Championship, most of the British Touring Car grid trust 3M for their racing equipment. So if you're a karter or even a racer yourself, not just sim gloves, a whole range of racing apparel.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Now that you
have you got more stuff?
Well, I mean, these are ones that I did actually purchase myself when I go karting. Now they're not karting gloves, but they are race FIA approved gloves for racing. So they are flame retardant. So
they look like Porsche factory driver gloves, Paul.
If only I was a Porsche factory driver. As I've dropped a glove on the floor, so let's pick that one up. But yeah, so make sure you check out the 3M website. That's 3m.co.uk for details on that, and get yourself a pair of those gloves to help your sim racing out. I would recommend, though, if you get the sim racing gloves, don't expect to go karting in them, because they are specifically built and made for sim racing environments.
That's correct. I think we need to see if 3M will make a pair of gloves that match your tweed flat cap. I think that the Super Aguri special with the tweed gloves, the Paul Smith special edition. I think that'd be really cool.
Only the finest tweed will do. Let's have a look then towards the second race of the evening here. So the drivers have had a feel of what the track is like and what the racing is like around here. Second race, reverse grid. Do you just feel that it's going to be patience? Is it going to be strategy? What's going to be the defining factor for those drivers out here today in the second race?
Well, I think what we might see, Paul, is normally in race one, the leading pack are so closely matched. They're so on the game. They very rarely make mistakes. And the other thing is they mirror each other's strategy very closely because they're so well practiced that they often come to the same conclusion of what the best strategy is. However, in the reverse grid, that just throws that out the window because they don't know what their situation's going to be when they come out the first couple of corners. They might get out well and they can get on with it, or they might have been held up by another incident. So I think this is where we're going to see, and with that very wide fuel window, we could see some really interesting and real disparity in strategy between our top runners. So the patience is the obvious one with a reverse grid, but the strategy here at Brands Hatch could be really cool to watch.
It certainly could, and well, the conditions could also come into play as well, because the race, it is racing very late afternoon in towards the evening here, 7 o'clock in the sim, and look at that cloud base, it looks mean. There is no rain yet in iRacing, but that will be coming at some point. Well, mostly cloudy sky, and if Hugo very kindly wants to give us the race conditions up on the screen, there you go. Just 21 degrees track temperature. So first and second lap could be an issue for those drivers out there.
Yeah, I think we could see some absolutely rapid lap times because that nice cool track temperature, as you say, once the heat is into the tyres, which might take a bit longer than it did in race one, once the heat is into the tyres, they will perform absolutely at their best. That's a perfect temperature where it won't overheat the tyre too much, and that's something that can happen at Brands Hatch because you've got a lot of fast corners that puts a lot of load through those Pirelli tyres. So, yeah, we're going to see some really, really red-hot lap times.
It is certainly going to be interesting to see out there on track, and well, the question is, it's who's going to adapt to the conditions the best, who's maybe got little adjustments to their setup that they know that they can make that will make the car handle a little bit better. But of course, you don't want to go chasing a setup, do you, in this 10-minute warm-up, because yes, it might make it feel better for 1 or 2 laps, but it might make it worse for the other 35 minutes of this race.
Yeah, this is where the really experienced performers and those who are in perhaps a larger sim racing group will have a setup geared for really any eventuality, and this might be a bit of a surprise to the drivers, I suppose, to have much cooler temperatures than we maybe expected, but it might well be a pretty welcome thing for the drivers, because the one thing you want at Brands Hatch is grip, grip, grip. If you have excessively high temperature, you don't have it. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one to watch.
Well, so you should see drivers trying to make the most of this, and a very interesting point has been made, by the way, by one of the series administrators in the race session, which is that when we are going green, you need to be pretty close to the car in front. Any large gaps that are left in that pace lap before the start of the race, if you're leaving a gap that you're then trying to jump into for the start, you can actually get penalised for that. See, the admins are quite strict on that type of behaviour. They want a nice tight start of the race.
Well, it's very important to make sure that the start gets off cleanly. If you have huge disparities in the formation, then that's just a recipe for chaos, to be honest. Particularly at a circuit like Brands Hatch, where there's virtually no straight piece of tarmac. There's almost no point at all where you're going straight. So particularly in those first couple of corners. So the last thing you need is cars that are right out of sequence. You want them all right together, and of course giving proper advantage to the pole sitter as well, to who leads the field away.
As we're getting ready, final 20 seconds of this warm-up, I'm going to throw you under the bus here, Peter. I want a prediction from you. Who do you think is going to take the win here in this second race?
Oh, that's a very tough one. Kai Kachubi.
Well, there we go. He did finish that first race in, what was that, 6th place, wasn't it? No, yeah, 6th place. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But we are going to be heading over to the start of this race, and that means that we've got a full pace lap once again, and that means that we get to take our time in giving you the starting grid here. So it is Miguel Freitas on the front row of the grid on pole position, with Michael Blake for the Immortal team alongside him. Adam Hedgecock and Ryan Hamilton then for Boosted Virage and Nomad Sim Racing, 3rd and 4th place. Row number 3 is Chris Van Den Ness for Evo SR and Tim Perry in the Three Spires Motorsport outfit. Row 4 for Ashley Finch with Pure Sim SimLab, with Team Mad's Chris Wood in 8th place. Row number 5, it is Lee Berridge from Boosted Motorsport and Billy Fletcher, Luxim 24 Esports. Row number 6 then for JB Maceda from Team Mad and Boosted Virage's Mike Horder. Row number 7 for Adam Watson from Team Mad and Christian Rose for the Pure Sims and Craig Setup Shop outfit. Row number 8 for Max Wolf for Evo SR and Alex Nella for Boosted Parental Guidance. Row 9 then for David Baker with a new enough of Pure Sims Craig Setup Shop outfit and Elliot Harper for Luxim 24 Esports. Row number 10 is Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports with the Jack Sedgwick from 3M by Williams Inex BS competition. Kai Kashube is then on the next row of the grid, row number 11 BS competition. Pure Sim SimLab, Michael Evdoka in 22nd. Now 23rd is Elias Sepinen for BS competition. We do appear to be missing Matt Turnbull potentially in all of that. But the next row of the grid is Josh Thompson with Phil Dennis, then Greg Jones, Jason Dilworth, and row 15 for Andy Shield and Morgan Butler. Row 16, Bradley Hulse and Andy Archer. Tom Stevens and Paul Webster then on row number 17, and row 18 is Matt Woodhouse and Lars van Rijn. 19th row of the grid for John Roberts and Jeroen Kaiser. Toby Ward and Tony Draper are row number 20. Row 21, Brendan Stacey and Simon Nella. Row 22 for Robert Lundgren and Nicholas Salaputis. Row 23 for Ben Gregory and Matt Bunn. Row 24, Chris Byram and Ross Nicholson. And then the final row of the grid is Simon Underhill and Joel Evans. So there we go. And we do appear to be missing Matt Turnbull from the grid. He hasn't taken to the start. That's why we were missing that one car. So that means that entire row of the grid, the left-hand side of the grid, will move up one position. That's rather fortunate for those drivers out there.
Yeah, this is a good stroke of luck if you're on that side. I wonder, any reason why Matt might not be here? Some sort of technical issue, I presume?
Possibly so. He's not showing as being in the race session.
So well, after a podium as well. What a pity.
Absolutely. So we're getting ready for the start here. It's Team Mad in Immortal.
Oh God, look at that horrible sticker there. Oh dear. Not the 3M one, the one underneath it.
Now, it's free. I was about to say, it's Team Mad and Immortal on the front row of the grid. Now, they are teammates. They may be in different outfits for the series, but they are Team Mad compatriots. That means they'll be working together on Miguel Freitas and Michael Blake. Onto the power for both of them. Nice start from the front row of the grid. The green flag flies in the air for the second race of week number 8 of the World GT Championship. Down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Will everybody make it through in all of this as we head uphill towards Paddock Hill Bend? Do we have any instance further back? Looks to be relatively clean so far on this start. That's good to see through Druids. Everybody going, although there's a Nomad car around at Graham Hill Bend. Oh, there's more cars going off on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. We are still staying green though, because the track is clear. And therefore, we keep going in this race as, well, that was the 24, Ryan Hamilton. Oh, he started up there on the second row of the grid, drops all the way down to the back.
all things considered, that was a pretty clean start, all things considered. And even with the spinning Ryan Hamilton across the road, that did, the drivers did a super job to, in the most part, get through there. So we carry on then, but what a start from Miguel Freitas, the man from Porto in Portugal, clearing off at the front and making full use of that pole position. So a good start for the Team Madden Immortal guys.
I can tell you there's been an instant further back. There you go.
Ooh.
And that is Matt Bunn involved in that, one of the Vulcan Sim Racing cars as well. To Joel Evans in the 724. He's involved, but we've had a pretty clean start to this second race of the evening. So it is Miguel Freitas who leads this one from Michael Blake in second place. Tim Perry, he's been on a charge, is up to third place now in your standings, and then it's just everybody else in a queue. It's just a matter of where do you look in all of this. This is absolutely crazy here, Peter, but it's been relatively clean so far. This is good to see.
Very good. With this many cars on the grid on a circuit as tight as Brands Hatch, you really have to give big plus to the drivers here. Look at Kashubi just carving through the pack, really using his instincts to full effect there. And it's 3 wide, heading down towards Hawthorne. Oh, this will be massive. Oh, that's my word.
Dennis.
Dennis involved. Oh my word, that's huge.
Oh, there's more involved in that one. That is absolutely crazy. And we've got a caution out of all of that. There's a car stationary. That's Morgan Butler. There's a Immortal car around. It's a case of who isn't spun around. That's Mark Woodhouse who's trying to make his way around.
Wow.
Bradley Hulse is involved in that. He went off in sympathy, I think, did Bradley and all that. But that's a huge, huge crash down Pilgrim's Drop. It reminded me a little bit of Johnny Herbert's crash.
It was violent, that was for sure. Well, here we go then. This is for the drivers who were involved in that. They've got to get a move on and make sure that they get around and do not go a lap down, because if they can stay on the lead lap and get into pit lane, they can use their fast repair. Now, what they can also do is fill up with fuel. Now, it will be very, very tight. But with a bit of it would be, you'd need to really fuel save very, very hard. But I don't think it's completely out of the question, Paul, by the time the caution finishes, which might be about, what, 4 minutes? Something like that? Which would leave it at 32 minutes. I think it's doable, actually.
It possibly is, yeah.
So you could have an accident, massive accident at that, come into pit lane, have your fast repair, fill up with fuel, and then as everybody pits in front of you, the road will just clear. So this could work out dandy.
The question is, do you pull the trigger? Because it's all well and good saying you're going to get that pit stop done, but then you're at the back of the queue, and you've got a lot of cars holding you up then.
But you need to fuel save. So it's not such a problem. So if you've got people in front of you, it's not such a problem.
I think we've actually had Morgan Butler go off at Graham Hill Bend into all of that. There's the replay, and it was just absolute carnage.
And there was just too many cars trying to fit onto too narrow a stretch of tarmac heading up through Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne Bend. Well, Mike Hawthorne, a man who was such a gentleman, he drove in his race car with a bow tie on. He would think that was very ungentlemanly conduct there.
It's such a difficult play when you're coming down at such speed as well, when you suddenly have a car in that way, and when you come over that drop, when you come over that hill there, you've got very limited view of what's happening in front of you until you do get over that crest. And if you're coming over that crest just behind those cars that have had that accident, all of a sudden you just find cars scattered in front of you. All you can do really is hit the brake pedal and pray.
Yeah, let's try and get the two Evo SR cars get together, and it's just the tiniest of tap, and that pings poor old Phil Dennis straight into the wall. Now, he carries on. How he's been able to drive that car, it's crabbing a little bit, I think, but that won't matter. Once he gets to pit lane, fast repair, and he'll be sorted.
He's on pit road. He's had his pit stop done. 5.2 seconds. You know, I don't know if that's going to be enough fuel or not at this stage.
So it's a 50% fuel limit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So normally with a GT3 car, you get about 60 minutes, not much more than that. So that means if you were to extrapolate that, we're going to go green now with about 33 minutes to go. So that would be the equivalent of making a full tank go an hour and 6 minutes. So it's a stretch. It's a heck of a stretch, but I don't know. It's going to be very tight, but do you have any other option if you're involved in that wreck?
I'll tell you what, Morgan Butler, once he's on the grass there, it doesn't matter if you hold your brakes or not, you are heading back onto track there. And it was rather unfortunate that this immortal car, I think that was Mark Woodhouse who got caught up in that, ended up collecting him. Now, if you're Miguel Freitas and Michael Blake, you'll be spitting feathers that accident happened there, because they had a small lead over Tim Perry. Well, now Perry is right on their tail here.
Yes, they've done all the good work there, and they're going to have to do it all over again. But Miguel Freitas is an experienced competitor. He will have done this before. His former SRW TCR champion. So let's see what the Portuguese man can do. And will he be able to hold off his teammate Michael Blake, as the driver's now starting to weave back and forward, trying to generate a little bit of tyre temperature if they can. And the Porsche 911 pace car will pull off and we'll be ready to go.
So, for the second time tonight, we've had a pace car. And Freitas is controlling the pace and he's holding them. Now he's going to go. They're trying to get the jump on the rest of them. And they're fanning out behind there as we go across the line. And do you know what? There's been an accident on the exit of Jim Clark Curve, and it's David Baker who is involved in all of that. We've got Adam Watson off in the gravel trap at Paddock Hill Bend. What's your rejoin there? Well, it's a single file restart that's supposed to be safer, and yet somehow we've had two cars off there.
Dearie me, that is a little bit strange actually, to kind of go off while still kind of under pace car, or near enough, just in the release of the pace car. So, well, how does that shuffle out with our championship contenders? Well, Kashibe is up to 8th position. So looking good for Kashibe. Where is McFarlane? He's back in 15th. It's been a difficult night for the Scotsman.
It's Billy Fletcher around the outside of Hawthorne. That's a brave move, and a credit also to Adam Hedgecock, who gave him that space as well. He could have easily have pushed out wide, but no, held his inside line, made him go around the outside, and Fletcher, tip of the hat to you, son. That was a brave but very well done move.
Yeah, beautiful manoeuvre, and like you rightly say, Paul, very gentlemanly from Adam Hedgecock, showing his class. There's the Hedge. So we're riding on board with the
Kashibe.
Thompson! Oh wow!
Thompson's managed to keep going, I do believe. Yes, he's on track there, and he's only actually going to lose out one place in all of that. But Kashibe, well, he was shutting the door on Thompson. I don't think Thompson will be too kind to that.
I think he will be rather perturbed. That's for sure. Well, we'll get another look at it, and that looks like there's maybe a little bit of scars to the front of the BMW there. Let's get a look at it then as well. So, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Well, they're not teammates, so
no, they are not. They might be in a BMW. That's about where it ends.
And I think Kashibe realised the threat of Josh Thompson and all of that as well.
That was pretty aggressive, you have to say. Thompson was well alongside, and the 29. That's Elliot Harper. Oh dear.
Oh, watch
out!
Dear. He's managed to keep out of trouble there. Well, he's got damage to his car, but he's managed to not cause any further incidents as they head into Sheen. Oh, that's all getting a bit tight all there in the mid-pack. Kashibe's actually just gained another position up into 6th place. You can see in the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Chris Wood is onto pit road, as is Ashley Finch. So there's drivers deciding that now's the time to pit as Jack Sedgwick moves forward into 9th place.
That might be quite an interesting call, actually, for the drivers who've decided to dive into pit lane now. The fuel window is now open. You can get home now from this stop. So with the field as busy and as frantic as it is, that could be a really inspired call, especially if you're a little bit further down the order as well, or in the midfield melee. And look at Thompson, he has recovered quickly and he's now right on the back of Kashubi, and he's going to show him no courtesy, because let's be honest, he got none from Kashubi. And look how defensive Kashubi is going as they go up to Hawthorne. Oh, and Kashubi moves across on the brakes again, and mistake for Kashubi. Here comes Thompson, seems to have a lot more grip. He's going to stuff it up the inside here, and they make contact, unsurprisingly. A little rub there as well as they head up towards Sheens, and somehow Kashubi hangs on to it, but right on the edge of flirting with the edge of what is acceptable there, Paul.
You know, personally, I don't like that move back across into the braking zone. No. Once you've made your defensive move, you should stick there. But anyway, they live to fight another day. Shube 5th, Thompson 6th in all of that. There's a Pure Sim Lab car onto pit road. There's Michael Evdoka. So that's somebody who is wanted to have a good race in all of this, and thinking, do you know what, there's a bit of clear space out there. It's all still quite relatively packed together, isn't it, the field? As Thompson and Kashubi have had connections. Lee Berridge has made contact with Michael Blake. Yeah, it was Berridge who got involved from Thompson there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so if Berridge had Kashubi got the move up the inside cleanly, then Berridge had a little moment on his own, and poor old Josh Thompson had just nowhere to go, and he had the boosted BMW in the way, made a little clip of contact, and that's allowed Kashubi to escape for now. But if Thompson's car is still in good nick, he'll be able to catch up. He's clearly got a lot of pace as the Manxman, but this is well, it's a reverse grid race, isn't it? To put it in short.
Well, here we go. Here's the replay. So there's Kashubi, and oh no, do you know what? Thompson's actually gone into the back of it.
Wrong. Yep, sorry, I do apologise. That's called that completely wrong.
That on the exit, however, now as Lee Berridge got damage that's caused him to run Michael Blake off the track on the exit of Druids, we don't know is the answer to that, but I want to give him the benefit of a doubt. And do you know what? Josh Thompson is onto pit road.
Yeah, very set. I think he needs to get the damage repaired. But yeah, do apologise. Looks like Josh Thompson just ran straight into the back of Berridge there, and that was what caused Berridge to have the moment. Right. Okay. So that's what replays are for, to help commentators who talk a load of nonsense. Well. Kashubi up to 4th now, and he should make pretty short work here of Tim Perry. Is he going to go for a move at Surtees? Yes, he is. And Tim Perry very wisely goes, do you know what? I'll just tuck in behind you. My fight is not with you.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. It's not his fight. Simon Neller is off at Paddock Bend. And he's trying to get going again, but can't. Meanwhile, Tim Perry, in that battle with Kashubi, you made a very good point there. Perry is a Pro-Am driver. His fight is with Billy Fletcher in 2nd place, not with Kashubi, who's a pro driver.
To be honest, it was much more of his benefit to allow Kashubi the space and then tuck in behind and use him as a marker for a lap or two. That's got much more benefit in it in the context of Tim Perry. However, he's about to have another superstar come up, and Biff! Oh, dearie me.
So that's what happened to Simon Neller. Yeah, and that was Nick Salaputis, the Year 1 driver, sticking it up the inside at Paddock Bend. And we've seen that move year on year into Paddock Bend, haven't we? Oh,
it's yes, it's as dependable as cheese and ham sandwiches. It's very, very commonplace. So, well, take a breath. And Tim Perry is going to have another superstar on his case shortly with Jack Sedgwick, who's on the fastest lap of the race at the moment. As lots of drivers coming in to take their quick splash pit stop, which I have to say, a 40-minute race, how much more interesting with a wee splash pit stop than just a 40-minute sprint start to finish. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, it adds that extra element, doesn't it? It adds the element of strategy in all of this, and really sorts things out. Worth pointing out, by the way, championship leader Ross McFarlane, he's had his pit stop. He's down in 30th place at the moment, and he's stuck right in the middle of a gaggle of cars. So it is, as you mentioned, Peter, he is not having a good day here today.
No, this is an off-colour Ross McFarlane, and you know, he's a man who does not make mistakes often, and on the first corner made quite a big one, and it's made me wonder if that's maybe just rattled his rhythm a little bit, because that's just so unusual for Ross McFarlane. However, with 24 minutes to go in this race, and with the amount of incidents that we've seen, you can never write him off, the Pure Sims driver, and we'll see how that goes as Kashube sets the fastest lap of the race now. Cedric gets past Perry, so Cedric is maybe the threat for the race win now. Is it going to be between Cedric and Kashube? It might come down to when they take their pit stops and how long they spend in the lane. Look at the corner speed of that Ferrari of Cedric.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? He's absolutely on one here. Cedric, since they've brought out the new Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo here, he really seems to be getting on with this car compared to the previous iteration of this car that he was driving in the first half of the championship. So, really seems to suit him and his driving style down to a T.
It appears so, yeah. Whatever's in that Evo kit, it's got some Jack Sedgwick special sauce, that's for sure. It's working perfectly. As you see, the 81 Evo SR car of Max Wolf.
Oh, we got a car off there.
Oh. Who was it?
That was a Mercedes. I didn't quite catch who it was. But it was a Mercedes that was off to the side of the track there. It has got moving again, though, I can tell you on my track marker. But yeah, so here's a replay, and it's Chris Byram for the Cuda Motorsports outfit. Oh, and he found a barrier rather hard.
Oh dear, crash for the PCGB Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear. He'll be getting prepared for season 4 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship, starting soon. In the new 992 Cup car, which I had my first go of today. I've been getting back in the sim, ready to return to driving with my leg.
Oh yes, absolutely. As Ross McFarlane to the inside of Mark Woodhouse, that's going to be a gain of position for him. Of course, yes. Almost fighting fit.
Almost. Not quite. It's a good job I can left foot brake, put it that way. I wouldn't be pushing any brake pedal down, but for throttle it's not too bad. But yeah, that new 992 Cup car, it's very cool. I quite like it.
It's a very, very nice car. I enjoyed driving it myself. As there goes Elliot Harper on the inside of Max Wolf, and another bit of a shoulder rub. Thank you very much. I'm coming through, and that also allowed Ashley Finch to gain a position on Max Wolf out of all of that as well. So Wolf down to 29th.
Now, at the front, Miguel Freitas still leads. This has been an amazing drive from the Portuguese. However, Billy Fletcher is right on his case, right behind him, but probably an even bigger however, an ominous however. Kai Kashube is only half a second from the lead now as well. So Kashube absolutely flying at the front from deep in the pack. From I started outside of the top 20. What a drive.
Got a little bit lucky with... Oh, Adam Watson. He's not lucky. He's into the wall. And that's caused a big chain reaction on Jim Clark Curve. Ashley Finch is involved in that. Ross McFarlane, your championship leader, is involved in all of that as well. And the Lamborghini driver is there at pit exit. Well, what on earth happened there?
So the number 13 boosted car. Oh, and Ross McFarlane, where could he go? Oh, getting it from all angles. That is the danger of running down in the position he was, to be brutal. Not Ross's fault, of course, but that is the risk you run when you're running deep in the pack.
And I believe that was because of getting on the curb, it just sent Adam Hedgecock's car into Adam Watson, and that caused that chain reaction. Here's that lead battle you were talking about then, Peter. It's Miguel Freitas, first place. Billy Fletcher to the inside there for the Luxim 24 Esports car. Get the teams mixed up there. Paul Freitas is trying to make the move around the outside of Druids, but that's only opened the door for Kei Kashube here to try and make the move. Decides out of that one. He's going to try the cutback here through Graham Hill Bend. Not quite on for the time being.
Yeah, Miguel Freitas isn't going to. It gives good room. You can do that at Surtees. You can keep look at that. Freitas. You go in the wide line round. You can almost go on the kind of motocross berm there at Surtees. There's a lot of different lines there, and well, Freitas keeps the momentum. And oh dear, a little bit of touch there. Kashube goes past. He is on a mission tonight, especially with Ross McFarlane not going to score many points at all in this race. Kashube is flying, but he's being really on the edge in terms of brutality here, Paul. I wonder if the BS competition team will get in the radio saying you don't want to try and cop some penalties here because McFarlane is not having a good day. Maybe calm down a touch.
Well, one man who isn't calming down, and that is Jack Sedgwick, who's behind Miguel Freitas now. So the pole sitter, he was at in the lead of the race for half of the race. He's now got Jack Sedgwick right there with him in towards Paddock Bend. They've got a car coming out of pit exit. That will put them off a little bit, and Sedgwick nicely to the inside. Freitas gave the space, and again, I think even though Freitas is a pro driver, I just think that he thought better of that one. Here's a replay again.
What could Ross McFarlane do there? Just oh. And if he hadn't already taken his pit stop, it wouldn't have been so bad. But he now has no fast repair.
He's out. He's retired.
Yeah. Not surprised. Oh, disaster for Ross McFarlane. However, now does Ross? Has he missed a meeting? I can't remember if he has. So there you go. There's a perfect example. Then, if you can attend every meeting. When you have a disaster, that drop score plays much more in your favour than if you miss it entirely.
Well, let's just regroup, see where we're at the moment, because we are past the halfway point of the race. So it is a Pro-Am driver, Billy Fletcher, again, in that Luxim 24 car. Ben Gregory and one of the Immortal cars getting involved. And, well, exit stage left, that was one of the Boosted cars. I do believe it was Brendan Stacey, the privateer from Boosted, getting wiped out there.
Well, Billy Fletcher has got big company now from Kai Kashube, but I can assure you, Billy Fletcher will not give this one up easy. He's a hard racer as well, and he will make absolutely no allowances for Kai Kashube. But as we've seen, Kai Kashube, if there's not a way through, he will make one. In the mood he's in tonight, he is just in rabid mood, and we know how fast the BS competition driver is as they head up towards Hawthorne. This has been a spot where Kashube has made a couple of moves, but not quite yet. And for Kashube, really, he's just, if he can get this move done, he's really in the driving seat in terms of strategy, because he can run it deep into the race and make a splash and dash at the end.
Well, Billy Fletcher is doing a sterling job, and we've seen him fighting with the pro drivers all season long, haven't we? He's really been getting the most out of that Luxim 24 Esports Lamborghini and doing a sterling job at that into Jim Clark Bend again. And you can see that these two are actually pulling away from Jack Sedgwick. Now, is Kashube going to make a dive down the inside into Paddock Hill Bend? It is a move that you can make. But no, for the time being, he's staying behind. He must be happy with the pace that Billy Fletcher has in front of him to be absolutely desperate to try and get past.
Yeah, at the moment they're lapping 122.7. Meanwhile, Jack Sedgwick is 121.9, and he's now got past Freitas. And it's I think Kashube has got to go here if he can, because otherwise Sedgwick will be right on the case, and that's really the last thing that Kai Kashube needs is charging Jack Sedgwick in his shiny new Ferrari.
Well, here we go. Through the back half of the track, they've got the 54 of Lee Berridge in front. Of course, your winner of the AM category in the first race. Not been a race to remember. This second one, down in 39th at the moment.
He'll not be in a charitable mood either after getting drilled from behind at Druids.
Now, here's a point. Where is Josh Thompson in all of this? He's in 12th place. He's behind Joel Evans. Now, Joel Evans was one of those drivers who pitted earlier on. In fact, pitted in that safety car period, did Joel, as did Elias Seppänen. So Seppänen's the one to really keep an eye on. He was only in the box for 4.6 seconds. He's going to have to be doing some fuel saving if he wants to make it to the end of this race, and he's right up behind JB Mesida here. So he's got a great opportunity of doing fuel saving whilst behind that Porsche, but he does still want to move forward in all of this.
Well, that's the intriguing part of it. They're looking at the pit lane times as sort of hovering around 20 seconds in the lane. So, wow, this race has got a lot to shake out so far. Kashubi, really, if he wants to win this race, he has to get past Billy Fletcher and open up the taps and look at, well, they've just got past Berridge. Where's Cedric? Cedric has just had a little bit of a tough lap there, so we'll see what the lap times are. And yes, Kashubi is in a rush. He's in a big rush, and they've got a spinner in front of them. Can they get past in time? Oh, yes, they can. It was one of the Lamborghinis, the boosted Lamborghini, I think. But yeah, Kashubi, he's the patience is virtually nil at this point.
He's got a slight bit of front end damage, but it shouldn't affect him too much around this track because it is not a flat out track. What a move! The dummy thrown there by Kashubi. Now you can get the cutback on the exit of paddock, and that'll give you the inside for Druids. Billy Fletcher has the inside for Druids, but now Kashubi has the inside for Graham Hill Bend, and that's exactly what he's got there in that BMW. And through he goes then. So to the lead, Kai Kashubi ahead of Billy Fletcher. It was a stout defence there and a good effort from Billy. He's not giving this one up yet though. He's in the slipstream here.
That was a very clean defence there and very firm as well from Billy Fletcher. And I think Kashubi maybe just running that touch more wing than the rest. He's able to carry more corner speed, but does sit a little bit vulnerable on some of the straighter parts, of which there aren't many. But Billy Fletcher driving a superb race at the moment. That is a world-class driver in front of him in Kai Kashubi. So, and he threw up a very strong defence, and Cedric gets past the backmarker Berridge at Sheen. So this is now where Kashubi really needs to lay down those quick laps. 12 minutes to go on the clock. Now fuel. Has Kashubi worked very hard for not very much here? Will he have to come in for fuel soon?
Well, he will have to definitely come in because there is a mandatory pit stop and he hasn't taken that.
We know, but not. It could be in the next couple of laps is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the fuel stop times that have been coming from others, you're looking at around about between 4.5 to 6.5, 7 seconds for fuel stops. So the more that you could fuel save for Kashubi, as Michael Blake from the front row of the grid now goes and pits for his mandatory pit stop. If he's been able to do any fuel saving at all in this race, then Kashubi is in a very, very strong position. But he is only 13 seconds ahead of Elias Seppänen in all of this, and it takes you about 25-26 seconds to traverse cone to cone in the pit lane.
You've got to give a big props as well to Joel Evans, who has taken his pit stop in the Pro-Am class. He's up 36 positions.
Oh, we've got a car off in the background of that shot.
Oh,
sorry, that I believe that might have been Christian Rose. It was.
Right. Okay. Now timing screen refreshes. And Joel Evans now, I do apologise, he has dropped down a little bit now. That's what a frozen timing screen can do to you. I thought he's doing very well.
Oh, there's enough of Craig's setup shop car getting out of the way. Here's Michael Evdoka in the Pure Sim Lab car with damage to his front right in that Ferrari. He's obviously been involved in some shenanigans out there. Miguel Freitas onto pit road. Tony Draper. Elliot Harper is in front of Evdoka that we were looking at there. Here comes Freitas out of the pit. Where does he come out? He's got an Evo SR car right with him. That's Chris van der Ness. And van der Ness holding that outside line. Doesn't get to keep that place because Freitas gets the inside at Druids, and that keeps him in 8th place.
Yeah, very strong defence there from Miguel Freitas. It's been a super drive, making full use of that reverse grid front row. So, this is going to go right down to the wire, I think. And, well, Thompson not out of this at all by any stretch of it. You called it right, Paul. Elias Sepinen is the danger man. It's Elliot Harper. It's a day of mixed fortunes for Lux Simsport.
Well, Elliot Harper was the one who was involved in the battle with Michael Evdoka. So hopefully those two haven't come into any sort of contact, but never say never as we look further down the field as well. This is Matt Bunn and Craig Jones battling it out. Jack Sedgwick on pit road. He's had his pit stop, and is he going to come out ahead of Thompson? No, he's not. So Josh Thompson up ahead of Sedgwick through this, and Thompson's got a bit of clean air in front of him as well.
Yeah, and that's critical at this stage. We've seen how important that is to get the most out of the car. And yeah, you don't want to be caught in one of these big melees in the mid-pack, because that can cost you multiple seconds a lap. So 8 minutes on the clock then. Kashubi pulling away from Fletcher, and Sedgwick now, he's taken his stop as well, and behind Thompson. So, interesting.
Late throw down the inside there for position. And that's John Roberts and to Joel Evans then. So Evans, that you were pointing out, actually had a 14.9 second pit stop, so I wonder if he had a penalty of some sort that he had to serve on pit entry. But he's now found himself up into 23rd, and Cake Shube onto pit road. This is the important one now. Where's Elias Sepinen in all of this? Well, he's coming around the final corner. Here's the question for you, Peter. Has Elias got enough fuel in his car?
Well, let's see. It's very hard to tell. He was one, of course, who pitted under that early yellow.
Thompson's passed Kashubi in all of this as well.
Oh, that's huge. And Thompson, we saw how much pace Thompson had earlier on. Just couldn't quite get the space to use it. But when he used it, wowee, that's impressive there from Josh Thompson. His last lap, a 1:21.8, so he's flying.
I can tell you, his average last 5 laps were 21.9. So he has been getting the hammer down, and Josh has been moving forward in all of this. Billy Fletcher, still your race leader, is the last driver yet to pit in this race. So it's going to be that interesting fight between Sepinen, Thompson and Kashubi. We do believe that Sepinen is going to have to do some fuel saving. Meanwhile, Josh Thompson not happy at getting held up by Selaputis, but he does have to aid them to go past. But it's not a case of just like Formula One, just pulling over, stopping and saying, "Come on, after you."
Indeed, that's what GT racing is about. As Billy Fletcher finally takes his stop, and oh dear,
that's
number
Harper.
29 of Harper, he's had enough, and you can understand that. It's been a tough night for Elliot Harper. Billy Fletcher back on the go again. Now, that little bit of traffic didn't play in Josh Thompson's favour at all, and Kashubi's right on him as Sedgwick makes it round and no more. Wowee, that was close there. So Jack Sedgwick holds on to 4th position just, but Billy Fletcher comes out in the class lead. Chris Van Den Ness quite a bit, about 8 seconds further back. So looking good for Billy Fletcher in the Lamborghini at the moment. 5 minutes to go. Tell you what, with 5 minutes to go, Elias Sepinen is certainly going to be close on fuel, but he's got a good chunk of time. 7 seconds, Paul. You can do a heck of a fuel saving with that kind of margin.
You certainly can, as Kashubi now putting the pressure on Thompson. Thompson was a little wide over the curb there. That will have compromised his exit speed. Down Pilgrim's Drop, and Kashubi, well, Thompson very assured with his turn in there. He knew he was turning in. Whether Kashubi was sticking a nose in or not was another matter. But they go through Westfield, down through Dingle Dell, then up into Sheen Curve. Such a challenging corner, that one. Sterling's, it is cambered in your favour as this one, so you can actually take it a little bit faster than you normally think that you can, and heading down towards the Jim Clark curve for another lap. Now, Sepinen, He's got a 7.6 second lead over Thompson and Kashube, and if these two start fighting here, Peter, all they're doing is just gifting Sepinen time to do fuel saving, if indeed he needs to.
Well, Elias Sepinen did a 122.3 the 2 laps ago, and the last lap just done there, a 121.6. So there's not oh dear me, Simon Underhill. It's been a bruising night for him as well. Ended up on his side under a tree earlier on, and he's decided to tow back to pit lane. But yes, coming back to Sepinen, he's clearly not concerned about fuel. That is not a fuel saving lap time, a 121.6.
No. Now that was Simon Underhill. Oh, he got barged off by Michael Blake, it looked like, and then comes into there and makes contact with Alex Neller, I do believe. Simon Neller is one of those, the driver in this series where if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. He really would. And, well, it's shown once again that just a couple of incidents and around he goes, and he's taking the tour back to pit lane. I think his day is done here. We've had a number of retirements out of this race, actually. We've lost Matt Turnbull, who didn't even take the start. Morgan Butler. Oh, Sepinen's in. Sepinen's had to pit. Oh, and he's missed his pit stall as well. So that's now left the battle for the lead between Thompson and Kashube. And he's got tyres as well. No. It's all going wrong for Elias Sepinen.
Oh dear, what a shame. Well, he obviously thought, well, I can't make it now, I may as well put the hammer down, and he put in an enormous fast lap there. So Josh Thompson leads then at Brands Hatch, 3 minutes to go in an absolute corker of a race, and they've got traffic ahead. This could play a huge factor, and we've seen how brutal Kai Kashube can be today. He will not take any hesitation if an opportunity presents itself, and Thompson is really going to have to defend hard, but he's got so much pace under that car, Paul.
Josh Thompson, who is of course taking part in the Porsche Tag Heuer Contender Series, trying to qualify for the new season of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. So he's got things on his mind. Speaking of things on your mind, Matt Bunn has just been unceremoniously tapped out the way by our returning Jeroen Kaiser.
Well,
and where's Matt going?
His car is his gloves are 100% Italian made, and so is his car.
I think he's had enough. I think he's got a problem, and yeah, he's taking the tour back to the pits there.
One problem he doesn't have is looking good with the free M gear.
That, and also having nice dry hands as well. Oh, that's Ben Gregory. He's had a race to forget as well. And I think that was Robert Lundgren who was involved in that one. And there's the race leaders. Whoa! If you're Josh Thompson, if you're just contact between the two of them. The two race leaders have spun, and Jack Sedgwick takes the lead. Kashube saw an opportunity. He threw it down the inside of Jim Clark Bend, and all of a sudden Jack Sedgwick says, "Thank you very much. I'll take the race lead."
Happy birthday, Merry Christmas to Jack Sedgwick. And Thompson's done. What is there's something happened there, Paul? I'm sure of it.
Must be damage. Must be damage to his car.
Oh, what an explosive finish. Oh my word, Kashube, you knew he was going to have a go, but he's been riding the tightrope all race long. Let's have a look. They get past Gregory, that unsettles Thompson, and Kashube stuffs it up the inside, and yeah, that's pretty sloppy,
he's alongside.
To be honest. But drives it to the side of him though. No, I think if you're Josh Thompson, you've got to be aggrieved there.
Does he make the apex?
Let's see.
He's not making the...
No, it just drills the side door.
That's going to be a lot of words from the Manxman, and I don't think any of them will be broadcastable, unfortunately. One person, as we say, who benefits out of that is Jack Sedgwick. Billy Fletcher, second place for the Pro-Am driver, and there's Thompson saying, "That's my day done." There's Fletcher, second place. We're on the final lap of the race here. Drama here in the World GT Championship. Just when you think that everything's settled, that happens. Incredible. But wow. Jack Sedgwick won't be complaining.
Well, we knew something would happen, but there's now, I think quite a lot of the drivers heading to pit lane right now are those who tried to do this fuel save strategy and it almost worked and not quite. But Jack Sedgwick, this is going to be 2 wins on the bounce for the Ferrari man. And does this bring him back into contention for the championship? Could we see a late charge for this World GT Championship from Jack Sedgwick? Amazing.
Well, he's just got 2 more corners to go in all of this, and the Inex driver, he's certainly had a spectacular race meeting here through the Clark curve for the final time, and here Jack Sedgwick is going to be a race winner in the World GT Championship round number 8. Across the line, takes victory here in this second race of the evening. And tip of the hat, Billy Fletcher gained 8 places in all of that to finish second place in the top Pro-Am driver in this race here. And look back, because Michael Blake is currently got a queue of cars behind him as Michael. He's your top AM driver. He started on the front row of the grid, and we've seen it time and again, Peter. You start on that front row of the grid in a reverse grid, you can get yourself some really good points as an AM driver.
Yeah, but that's exactly what Michael Blake has done. What a performance for the Porsche man, and he comes over the line to take that. Now, Kai Kashubi, he may well have come across the line in 3rd spot there, and with Ross McFarlane not scoring very much in the second race, he'll get a good chunk of points. However, I do feel that he will have the attention of the stewards during the week.
Chris Byram is slowly making his way to the finish of this race. He's got significant damage to his Mercedes, and I don't think there's a single straight panel on that car. He's terribly crabbing, so he's got suspension damage as well. He's got cars on the grass behind him as they work their way around, but crucially, Chris is going to make it to the end of this race. We're just waiting on him to cross the line, and there's the timing line. He is the last finisher of this race. Wow, what a dramatic end to the World GT Championship round number 8 here on RaceSpotTV, and it's Jack Sedgwick who wins that one by 1.5 seconds over Billy Fletcher. The Pro-Am win for him as well. Keiko Shube finishes in 3rd place ahead of Miguel Freitas, your pole sitter, finishing 4th in the end for Team Mad. Tim Perry for 3 Spies Motorsport. Normally 5th place would be a win for Pro-Am. Not here in this second race. It's 2nd place in Pro-Am, down in 5th. Elias Seppänen couldn't quite make that fuel strategy work, ends up in 6th place. JB Maceda 7th ahead of Jason Dilworth. Good result for Jason there. Ross Nicholson, after a nightmare of a first race, finishes in 9th place, and Tony Draper for Century Sim Esports rounding out your top 10. Chris van der Ness for Evo SR in 11th place ahead of Joel Evans. Note the lack of pro drivers in these top 20 here. Joel Evans in 12th ahead of Michael Blake, your top AM driver out there on track, with Jeroen Kaiser in 14th place. John Roberts then 2nd place in AM. That's really good for his AM championship. And Andy Archer 16th for that Century Sim Esports car. Paul Webster, Toby Ward, Tom Stevens and Christian Rose rounds out your top 20. Lars Van Rijn 21st ahead of Chris Wood, with Mark Woodhouse 23rd. Michael Avdoka 24th ahead of Craig Jones, the Seoul SCCR Sim Sports car. Alex Nella 26th ahead of Ryan Hamilton. Brendan Stacey got wiped out by Ben Gregory in that race, but did return to track after getting a repair. Finishes 28th ahead of Max Wolf and Adam Watson, who found a wall out there on track. The rest of these cars either finished 1 lap down or did not finish. So Robert Lundgren then in 31st ahead of Lee Berridge. Benjamin Gregory, who had a nightmare out there today. Adam Hedgecock, because Salaputis. Mike Horder, Josh Thompson, who we saw penultimate lap of the race, contact, and obviously not able to finish the race. Simon Nella 38th ahead of Chris Byram, and David Baker 2 laps down, well, 2 laps down but does finish. Also 2 laps down and does finish is Matt Bunn, and then those that do not finish: Simon Underhill, Elliot Harper, Andy Shield, Bradley Hulse, Ross McFarlane. It happened so long ago that I completely forgot about Ross being involved in that accident on the exit of Clark Curve. Ashley Finch, Phil Dennis, and Morgan Butler. And, of course, Matt Turnbull did not take the race start. Peter, how on earth do we unpackage all of that?
I actually don't know. I mean, we need to get a tea and biscuit sponsor for the stewards, because my goodness me, they're going to have quite a bit to look at. I mean, Kashubi was just in one of those patterns and one of those moods where it was just like, I am going to win this race, and I do not care who's in the way. I'm winning it. And that kind of came unstuck at the last moment, really there. And I think Josh Thompson has got good reason to be frustrated with that one, because he raced fair, and did he get it back in return? I'm not so sure if he did, to be honest. And Jack Sedgwick, he's probably still killing himself laughing at the at the good fortune. I'm sure he won't quite be able to believe how that one just fell in his lap. But actually, pound for pound, driver of that second race there was Billy Fletcher. He was fighting there right up with the pro guys, and scores an enormous chunk of points for the Pro-Am Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, gained 8 positions in that race in the end. Jack Sedgwick gained 19 places in all of that. Kei Kashubi 18 places in that. Elias Seppänen, it didn't quite work out taking that out. Now, he was involved a little bit in that instant down Pilgrim's drop, which is why he would have taken the pit stop. Tried to make that work along with a couple of other drivers, and it didn't quite pan out for them, did it?
No, it was ever so close. Maybe a lap in it, maybe 2. Just if the pace car had just decided to go round for one more lap, it might have been a different story. But it just shows you that you can stretch the fuel a little bit, but in that limited amount of time, you almost need a full tank to be able to kind of make that whole strategy work. So, very, very close there for Elias Seppänen. But considering he was involved in a big smash, to still finish with a good chunk of points, I think he'll take that.
Absolutely as well. We mentioned about Billy Fletcher, your top Pro-Am. Your top Am, Michael Blake, started on the front row of the grid, and we've talked about this in the past. If you're an Am driver and you look into that reverse grid draw, you've got to try and take the most of that opportunity.
You do, because you will not get it every time. That's the thing, is that when the spinny wheel is kind to you, you have to be kind back, and that also means still sticking to your pace. Do not try and run the pro class pace, because that will get you in big trouble. And if they're coming through, as we saw a number of drivers handling it very well, handling it very clever, when you see a Kei Kashubi on even more of a mission than normal, you don't have to blend out. Just make it just that little bit more. That little bit more room, and try and use that faster car to your advantage rather than your detriment.
Well, we will look forward to next week, which is one of our sprint meetings at Motegi at the Grand Prix layout at that. Quite a long track is that one. 90-degree corners there. That asks for a little bit of trouble, doesn't it, around that track?
Well, the thing about Motegi is you've got a lot of very long braking zones, a lot of kind of top gear to bottom gear stuff, so that encourages overtaking manoeuvres, whether they're there or not. It's also not a circuit that people know overly that well, for whatever reason. So I think, we could see maybe a little shift up in the order there at Motegi. So it's maybe a good job that these cars have got anti-lock braking systems, because when you see the GTE cars that don't, and you get a bit of a lock-up, it can cause some problems. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch, I'm sure. And the championship battle, well, it rumbles on. And Jack Sedgwick, with the form that he's on, he's going to be a factor, I think.
I mean, that downhill braking zone there certainly gives you a real opportunity, but it's also a real opportunity to make a mistake down there to make a move. We have got one person actually waiting for an interview with us actually here, so let's bring him in. And Peter, why don't you take it away with the man who finished second place in that race, Billy Fletcher.
How you doing, Paul?
Billy, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. That was some drive. A Pro-Am class win, second overall. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was hard work, and I'm not going to lie, I was bricking it watching Kay come through the field so quickly. We kind of talking to the teammates at the start, and it was like, if I had the pace to win, but I needed a bit of luck with the top end of the pro boys coming through the field, so the safety car kind of wrecked that chance. But I'm really chuffed with second place. Obviously, huge luck, and I really feel bad for Mr. Thompson. Obviously, what happened with him and Kay, but I'll take every position, and I think it's my first 0x of the season as well, so we get a bonus there as well.
Oh, so it's all racking over. It's a double rollover for you, Billy. I mean, tell us about this World GT Championship season as a Team Luxem 21-24 esports. You've really been very fast all around with your Lamborghini. What have you guys been doing to get the pace out of the car?
Hard work and practice. Big thanks to mainly Elliot. Elliot, he's really committed. I have a lot of other stuff going on around, so I have a little bit of difficulty committing really to the practice that we turn up like Sunday night. Saturday, we're trying to get a practice session at the end of the week, but Sunday night, and we'll ping Elliot a message. Elliot, any chance you could set us up with setup? And he's already made us set up. And he does a great job with his setup work. He's sort of understanding of it, and the hard work we've been putting in as a team, you know, myself, Aaron and Elliot, we've been trying really hard. We work closely with the Sim Stickers guys as well, so Brian and Ross. So yeah, it's just a nice big team effort, to be fair, and it's paying off as we're getting, the results are coming. A bit unlucky at times, but the results are coming.
They certainly are. And looking ahead to the, towards the end of the season, Billy, is the Pro-Am Championship on for you, do you think?
I'd need a bit of luck. I've had too many bad rounds. Detroit, obviously, we were running really well up until the point we had the little run-in with somebody, and then I made the errors towards the end of the race, which dropped us right back. It's been a few times where I've squandered the chance to get good results, so I don't think it's on. We'll push to get as far back up the championship as I can, and I'll be working hard to the next races to try and bring the results in. And if we might get a bit lucky and people at the front have bad rounds, you never know, it might come to us at the end of the season.
Well, we wish you all the best with the charge to the end of the season. Congratulations on a super drive, Billy. Well done, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, and thank you to you guys for the great broadcasting.
There we go then. Billy Fletcher joining us. Great to hear from the drivers of this championship, especially when they've been involved in such intense battles throughout the racing. So, but again, one of the drivers of today, he did a superb job out there.
Yeah, as I said, pound for pound, got to be the driver of the day for me, really. But to fight up at that level around guys that are, World Championship pro sim racers, effectively, and as Billy said, if he's not got the time to put in the practice, it's even more impressive, actually, as well. But it shows you the difference between sim racing teams and, shall we say, normal professional racing teams is that the collaboration aspect. The word teammate actually means that, if that means, rather than the person you have to just bury every season, so that it just shows you there as a perfect example there. It was good for Billy to reveal that to us of, how Elliot's the guy who's putting in the hard miles, and there's really no substitute for mileage to get those last little bits dialed in, and the hot shots turn up on the Sunday night and go, oh, that's a nice setup. I think we could do quite well with this. And Monday they get the results, but that's what makes a good sim racing team these days.
Absolutely. Well, it was certainly dramatic today, that's for sure. And if you think that was dramatic, well, we've got 3 20-minute races with the second and third race both being inverted grids as well, which will be all manner of excitement. I don't know how we're going to keep things together here in the commentary box, but that is all that we've got time for here on the World GT Championship, brought to you by 3M, Pure Sims and Simmortal here on RaceSpotTV. Hugo Luis has been behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons and bringing you the pictures that you see today. Thank you very much once again to Peter Mackay for joining me here on commentary, and from myself, Paul Smith, and everybody here at RaceSpotTV. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.